Hey everybody, how are you doing? It's me, Chris Herman, for another episode. God darn, gotta get my microphone right here. We're gonna keep that in.
Do not edit this.
No, absolutely not. We're going real. So, hey, it's Chris Herman for another episode of On Deck. Today, I am joined by my good friend for the second time, and we had a great time. In fact, he's sitting right there, so I'm not going to act like I'm in here by myself doing the intro, but Mr. Jackintelle, my good friend JJ, we talked about mostly life, a little bit of car business, a lot of fun, a little bit of cocktails, and overall a great conversation that I think you're really going to enjoy. So without further ado, my good friend, Mr. Jackintelle. Thank you very much. Enjoy.
Short list, December 4th. It's going to be epic. It's going to be really cool.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of music, a very eclectic group of individuals from all walks of life. So, it's going to be cool. So, we're going to have about 60 people.
Okay. If you're telling me means
I'm telling
of me
you.
being there, then we'll be there. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's going to be some kind of invite that I don't know how to do. And the girls are going to do. Like, we're not going to send it out mail.
Right.
Yeah. Now,
we're going to start. That's part of this whole thing here. I want to start doing a Sunday event, like once a month, like a, for lack of better terminology, a Spirit Sunday kind of deal, right? Where we do like a brunch and there's music and it's fucking yoga and incense and
I love it.
Positive,
Yeah.
Kind of
bring
stuff.
a little Tulum feel to it.
Yes. No, I'm serious.
Have you been there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just thought about the other day, like I've been twice this year, this past 12 months, but I'm like due. So I'm going to wait for it to cool off just a little bit.
Dude, my wife and I, we are due for a trip without the kids somewhere where we can just chill for.
I can't think of a better place though. It's easy to get there. There's no COVID shit.
She was just there. She was there like 4 or 5 months ago. She did a yoga retreat just north of Tulum. I can't remember, but then they went down there for a couple of days.
It's just, I have my clothes that only work there. Shit like that. So let me tell her we're good.
Okay.
All right, Chris, I'm fucked now. I canceled my workout.
All right, good. Now you can stay for band practice tonight. You can put in a whole night. JJ, we go till 9:30 here at the Herman Agency.
Yeah, then I won't be able to work out in the morning.
Fortunately, my Thursday workouts are in the afternoon. Tuesday and Thursday, I swim at 4 p.m. from 4 to 5. So I leave here at like 3:30. And then hit the gym in Aventura where they got a 25-meter pool, and I do my swims on Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah, I go late Monday. Other than that, early in the morning. Well, I say early, not like it used to be. I used to belong to a 5 a.m. club. Remember you had Steve here?
Yeah.
Noodleberg.
Oh, Steve and I just talked yesterday. He's coming back next Wednesday. We've reconnected.
We've been friends for.
Yeah.
He was like a good dude when I moved here. Like kind of took. We didn't know anybody, but he kind of came up with this 5 a.m. workout deal. So I inked up for it. And I don't know, we did about a year.
Right.
It was awesome. Once you got used to it, it was, you slept better, you were in bed at 10 o'clock and shit like that. But
yeah. You'll laugh. So, okay, so he was in, we did the podcast like maybe 2 months ago. He came in and we've been in contact ever since. So he's coming back. Super good dude.
He's a great guy.
And you talk about a 10 p.m. bedtime. My bedtime, you'll laugh, I'm in bed at 8 p.m. almost every night. And legitimately, by 8 p.m., I'm fucking toast. Because we've got the 2 little kids. So we're up, like, depending on how hardcore I am, we're up anywhere between 4 and 5:30. And my 4-year-old daughter is up at like 5:45, and she's ready to have breakfast. And then so then depending on whose morning it is, because we have a schedule that we rotate. So some mornings it's my morning to work out, some mornings it's my wife. Some mornings I drive Sabrina to school, some morning it's my wife. So we've got a whole system. It's good. But I gotta tell you, dude, I was thinking this last night. I got in bed at 8 o'clock last night, and I was fucking spent. And I was like, why am I so tired? it's a 14 to 16 hour day. From the second you wake up, you're like, you're going with the kids, and you've been there. I'm just older doing it now for the first time, and I love it. But holy shit, sometimes I'm like, we look at each other, it's 8 o'clock. I'm like, what the fuck, babe? It's 8 o'clock and we're wiped.
The trainer asked me the other day, she goes, how'd you feel last night? I can't believe it. I fell asleep early. I never fall asleep early. She goes, what time? I go, midnight. Because I'm about 1:30, 2 a.m.
No way.
Yeah, I don't know. I like night. I should have been like a night, like when I was younger and I was like looking at just like jobs, I wanted to work the night shift. Like, I wanted to like,
So you're a night owl.
11, yeah, for sure. And I don't sleep much, about 6 hours. I'm good, but I think I'm like, I like to be up late. The world's quiet.
Right.
I'll go outside. I got a little rooftop patio. I'm out there. It's just different. So I'm up late.
But it's interesting because essentially the experience is the same. Now, I can't say that mine is anymore with the kids, but typically I'm a morning person. I would gladly get up at 4, and I still do.
Same. You're right.
And have that quiet time to myself for a couple hours where nobody else is up. I can have my coffee, get the emails checked, get everything, check my finances, do everything, get everything done, and then, go have that exercise. So that by 7:30, like I got all that shit out of the way. So it's the same thing. It's that quiet time, right?
I would go to years ago. I would work out at another place when I was in Ohio at 5, and I'd be done at like 5:45, 6, and I'd go to this little coffee shop. And then about 45 minutes later, the world started to wake up. Traffic started. I'm like, you fuckers, like it was real nice and quiet before all you people got moving. But yeah, it's same thing. Being up super early like that. I might flip it. Maybe for 2022, I'll flip it.
But you go to bed like 1:30 still.
Yeah. I say bed. I get in bed. I have, like, I live by myself. Like, I just got all my shit. Like, if you see my bed, like, I have a king size bed.
Right.
I got a laptop. I got headphones for the TV. I got a book. I got a journal. I mean, there's
you got a whole
when a dog comes up
assortment.
to go to bed, I got to push all this shit over, So yeah, I got my phone. I got all kind of, and then some other shit that I just decided to look at tonight. Like, I'm going to thumb through this automotive news or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, there's a whole.
So what's your go-to All right, let's talk about this bedtime scene. Let's get intimate here. What's your go-to entertainment in that environment?
Well, off my, I have a 3-story house, so I have it's called a villa, right? So it's like first floor, second floor, and then third floor is just a bedroom, an office. So if you can imagine like a loft, it looks like a loft apartment.
Okay.
Off the office is a rooftop. On the rooftop.
So that's where you are. That's
right.
Nice.
So it's like, if my kids come up there, it's like they're on borrowed time. Like, hey, Dad, they go back down. So nobody hangs out up there. So I, shower, get my shit together, and then I'm on the roof. So I have a TV up there. Typically, I'm on YouTube playing music, candles going. You can see the sky. You can see downtown Fort Lauderdale. So that's kind of where I bring my laptop out there, and that's where I'll wind down and then end up pretty much going to bed from there. But that's kind of my family room chill area.
But you've got it's like you've got your layer.
A whole layer. Yeah,
that's nice.
It's a whole layer, and the rooftop is, you'll see it, is covered with vegetation and plants and flowers and shit. And I'm up there and I'll fuck around and replant a pot or do shit like that. So that's my that's my wind down. When I come home, I don't think, like, my living room, other than watching football, I don't think I've ever sat there and like watched television or I do have all my high fidelity shit down to my good stuff.
Right.
So the other night was actually the first time I had somebody over, and I said, let's sit down here and have a cocktail and and listen, because I listen to that shit in the morning. I get my coffee and I go in my living room and I'll play vinyl. That's my morning routine, every morning, what I'm going to play. And that's how I get to use that living room, and I get to use that equipment for the most part. So then I got some other shit, and I'll carry music up and down. But this morning it was Elton John and Rocket Man and all that. Yeah. And if I'm vibing, I'll have another cup of coffee or whatever. And I got nothing going on.
So so let's say you go to bed 1:30. I'm gonna keep drilling into this nonsense right here. So you go to bed at 1:30. You get up like 7:30.
Yeah.
7:30. Get some coffee, and then it's vinyl. And I've seen, I know we've talked about this lightly, but your audio, you've become a bit of an audiophile, right?
Yeah, I'm
in
still
terms
a
of your
rookie.
equipment.
Yeah, I'm still. The more I research, the more I realize I'm still in a starter kit. But
Right.
I've actually moved the starter kit out of the main part of the house up to my bedroom, and I've got I've upgraded.
You've upgraded down there, right?
But there's still a lot of blue sky if I wanted to go further. I don't think I have the ear for it yet. Like I wanted to play the music too loud, and so when I have this dude that's been helping me, and building and buying and shit, and I'm like, I'll call him. I'm going, dude, shit's fucked up. It's vibrating and it's got this hum, and he's like, I was there. It sounded perfect. Well, I realized I just was playing the music too loud.
You're turning it up.
Yeah. So now that I've got that, so I think it's a kind of a palette, right, of appreciating it, differently. So, yeah, that's my newest hobby. I just stopped because I tend to like, I don't know how you would say it. Things are so accessible now. So before, like, you could buy vinyl on Amazon, right? You'd go to these little thrift shops and you'd find some vinyl or some, record shop, and you'd dig through that shit. And now that it's so easy, I found I had to stop doing that because, you could go on there and just all your favorite artists, like click, and, and send them. Plus the new vinyl is, because the format is different. Let's say a Hotel California album, right? Just one album. But if you buy it on this new digital format, whatever they do, it's like 4 fucking albums. Yeah, and they're heavier and they're better quality, but they get way less music on one side. So let's say where there were 4 tracks on one side, now there's 2.
Oh, really? On vinyl?
On vinyl.
So just there's that much more information that's pouring out.
I don't know enough about it, but I don't like it, because it's so it must just be to improve the quality. Right. They have to. So I quit buying new stuff unless it's a brand new artist that that'll only released on that. Like Norah Jones just came out with an album. You're not gonna find it in a record store. So I had to buy that. New. But I had to stop being like, a hobbyist, collecting and slow and finding these finds. And when you go on frickin' Amazon, you could buy 40 albums, and
in one shot.
Yeah, so I stopped that. It's kind of took a little bit of the fun out of it.
I at home, I have a very modest turntable, a couple bookshelf speakers, but I still have my parents' entire record collection.
That's awesome, man.
All of their original Sinatra from the 60s. It's scratched up, and when you listen to it, it sounds old, but for those that don't get into it, there is something about vinyl that you listen to it. I don't know what it is, but maybe it's a time thing. Maybe it's like when you grew up in life, but there's something about listening to a record that's a very satisfying sound experience. It's
the sound, and it's the, it's like coffee in the morning for me, or a cocktail. It's the experience. Like I had a friend over, and we opened a bottle of wine, and then another bottle of wine. I told you, and we're in my main room, and where I've got my nice setup. And next thing you know, it's 2 a.m. and there's fucking album covers everywhere, like it would have been,
when you're a kid.
Yeah,
right?
So I'd wake up in the morning and go down to my dad, and then would be partying and shit, and they'd all be in bed, and there'd be albums all over the place, and that's what it was like. Let's try this, let's put this on. You weren't at that point putting them all back away, and and back in the sleeve, and so that part of it too is was pretty cool. What do you want to listen to next? And we didn't. Right. They're everywhere.
Safe to say, or is it safe to say that you're primarily a classic rock guy? Like, is that the bulk?
Yeah.
Bulk.
I mean, if I'm in my car and I'm on XM, I'm playing, what is it, classic vinyl, or yeah. So for sure, yeah, for sure. I mean, I've diversified. My daughter is turned me on to some music. She's not she's not like a hip hop. So she's turned me on to, all different, a little more funk music, FKJ, stuff like that. So we actually trade off some music, tips here and there. So, and then I like country music as well. Right. I spent a dozen years in Houston. Yeah. So I really appreciate country music.
Yeah. I like country music too. I don't like pop country as much, but I do really like, more of that old, of course everybody says Johnny Cash, but I love Johnny Cash, or like Waylon Jennings and Glenn Campbell. Like some of that old country music, it's just like, oof.
A lot of good lyrics.
Yeah. It's got a good feel too. Like they got a vibe,
Yeah, there's a lot of lyrics. I mean, there's a lot. But I in Houston, Clint Black, Garth Brooks, those guys. I listen to a lot of that music as well. So
when you were a kid, what was if you can think back, like what was your first record? What was the first music that really spoke to you as a kid?
The first music that really, probably like the Eagles and shit,
Yeah.
because it was my parents. My parents were, my parents aren't that much older than me. I think my mom was 16 when I was born. So I was,
Okay.
So they were, I grew up with, Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and the Eagles and, Boss Skaggs and shit like that. So, and I have all that music. So, and I listen to that, and then like, let me think, like, would be the music that really brings me back, like definitely like Boss Skaggs and Carole King. Carole King music. I play Carole King all the time. Like on Sundays, it's like Alexa, play Carole King radio, because James Taylor
vibe,
and shit
yeah.
like that. Yeah, I like that. I like that music a lot.
I'll
But
have to check
it
that
brings
out,
me back
yeah.
to being a kid.
Yep.
And thinking about my parents or my mom especially. But they have music on all the time. So at our house, there's always music on. If I walk in the house, there's no music on. It's on in 5 minutes. Typically, I leave it on when I leave.
I used to do that a lot too. I would leave it on because I just felt like it's good vibe, for when you're gone. Just leave the music playing.
Yeah. And then if somebody comes home or whatever, and I even when my housekeeper comes now, she's Spanish, and I'll put on like Spanish Pandora station, and I could just tell when she gets there, it's just she digs it. Yeah.
In a good mood, right?
Yeah.
It makes such a difference. We listen to a lot of music at the house too. It's surprising too, like. Because you've got the full audio file set up, and I've been through different waves of that, and of course we got a ton of shit here. But like, I'm happy to listen to music almost on any. It doesn't matter at this point in time. Like, I'll listen to it off the phone. We'll listen to it on Alexa at home, which is there's nothing greater. We've got like a nice Bose setup that we listen to. There's different ways to listen, but at the end of the day, there's something about just the vibe that it creates, particularly at home.
I can't be without it. Like, I have a Bluetooth speaker in my backpack, and no matter where, if I just find myself anywhere, I feel like naked without it. Like wherever I'm at, I was in Tulum a while back, and I had a Bluetooth speaker, and it just it shit the bed. So I found this guy, this Mexican guy that was helping me out. I'm like, you got to translate it, and he went into town and got me a speaker, from my room. So. And there's some, there's some new country music. I was just thinking about that, like that's been out too as well. So I've been, this album thing has really got me exploring, with music. Yeah. And my daughter being home, that's been cool too, because she'll play music. I'm, who is that? Who is this music? And she'll share her Spotify shit and so on. So that's been cool too. It's
cool generationally, of course, you knew my dad, and my dad was a big music guy, and I remember whenever we would go to visit my dad, music was such a central part to those times that we spent together. Of course, Springsteen was like a huge part, but like I think about times like in the 80s, like we'd go down and visit my dad, right? We go visit my dad and Kathy. They had a condo down the Jersey Shore, and it was like a 2-story. Like the first story was like, living room, kitchen, dining room, bedrooms, and there was a big loft upstairs. It was really cool, and that's where they had like the huge stereo and all the music. And we'd listen to stuff like, I remember listening to like Fine Young Cannibals or Simply Red, like a lot of 80s stuff.
Yeah.
But it was just such fun to like get together as a family. And we did this at home with my mom too, but just to be together, listen to music, have a drink, eat food, and just like set the tone.
Yeah, I have I don't know, 2 months ago I got home. So my daughter's moved back in with me. Well, I say move with me. She's never lived with me, but she just graduated college, and she came to live with me for a year and do a master's program locally. So it's been awesome. Matter of fact, I asked her brother, I helped him get his own place because I wanted to have this year with her.
Right.
Because she left home, she was 20 or 17, now she's 23. So I'm like, this could be really cool. The two of us, she likes to cook and so on. So I just wanted to get to know her at this age. So I got home, I don't know, and she was having some, boyfriend problems or whatever. I don't know, but she was just bummed out. And I had never seen Dave Matthews, right, ever. And the people that, and I don't know, I put Dave Matthews in this Jimmy Buffett bucket, right? And
okay.
And I'm like, because this trendy, not trendy wouldn't be the right word, groupie type,
groupie, jam bandy kind of.
And I didn't even know what a jam band meant, all right? So I got home and somebody had told me like that day at work or something like, oh, I'm going to Dave Matthews tonight. Never, and I'm a music guy, right? So I said, why don't, there's a concert in Palm Beach. Why don't we just fucking go, right? So I went online and I, whatever was available. This was like an hour before the show, right? 2 hours before the show, and bought these tickets. And so we're heading up there, and she said, where are we sitting? I said, we're sitting in the front row. And honest to God, I said, God's honest truth. So, really? I go, yeah, really. And so we get there and we walk in, and there's a Tito's and lemonade stand, right? And you got this like half gallon of like this drink, like for $17 or something. So we both got one, and it's outdoor. It's the Palm Beach Amphitheater. I've never been there before. So anyway, I don't even look at our tickets, right? And we just start maneuvering, and we're going down here. Where's your tickets? So within, we got chased out. So everybody that worked there, so it's kind of like knowing your audience, right? I'm going to actually use this in a sales presentation I'm doing in a couple weeks. So I realized that everybody worked there was a retired, like senior citizen. As far as work there, like ticket taking and so on. I just started to notice, like, okay, well, this is our audience, right? And so, we started sweet talking and so on. And then, honest to God, a lady with a cane chased us out for like the third time. But we've started to find, like, she had to get down to the lower level. And then I found Bob, like, Bob, how long have you been working here? Like, do you get to see a lot of concerts? What's the best one you ever saw? And, like, we're going to go up there and see our friends. We got by Bob, right? So that was already, we cleared that spot. And then one thing led to another, and we found like the weak link of like there's 4 ways to get to the front row, like as you go down. And by mid-concert, we were on the rail in the front row. And so the only thing between us and the stage was like the pit, right? Right. So just for the hell of it, I said, all right, here's what we're gonna do. It's like 3 songs left. First of all, I was blown away. I'm a huge Dave Matthews fan now. Like, I never knew what a jam band was. I didn't know really that they didn't really have a genre. I didn't know any really of the music other than a little bit of it, but I could have listened to them for hours. I mean, they were just badass, the way they just, and I went home and I'm like online and researching the band and, how they were founded and, and then they're badass. I mean, he's worth like 100, he's got his own jet and shit, his own winery, like, he don't play. But it was awesome. And I would travel to see them. Like, I would go, like, I started looking at where they're touring. And people do like crazy. I would for sure. I would definitely. The girl that turned me on to them, for her birthday, I bought her front row tickets in Madison Square Garden in the fall. And like, I just, in this winter. But we ended up, it's just funny. We ended up on the front row. And it was kind of like this cool thing with her, like, to show her, like, it was like rejection, objection. Like, so we're just, we're not going to give up. Dad, the lady's chasing us. Like, sorry, we got it. Let's go get another drink. And they're going to try this north side entrance now, So we're on the front row and on this rail, and we just kind of maneuver, like there were seats. Oh, those were our friends' seats. They gave us the tickets, and hey Bob, kind of the same shit. Actually, he looked at us. I think he had anxiety the whole time he was letting us there. But so I said, all right, baby, here's what we're gonna do. There's now another ticket taker between the front row and the pit, which is like up to the stage. There were maybe, 150, 200 people there. Like, we're just gonna go, right? We're just gonna go to the pit. They're gonna throw us out. They're gonna chase us, and then so like we'll go to the car. I want to leave for the last song. Get out of here anyway. You sure? I said, yeah. Let's just do it. Fuck it. Let's just do it. So I said, as soon as they start to play, let's just bolt past. They're gonna yell and shit, but they're old. We'll be all right. So the song starts and I go. And she's right next to me. I go, and they're like, hey, and I'm like, there's all these people, so you can just wander up, and get lost for a few minutes, right? And she bails on me. No. So she bails. I scare her. And so now I got to go like, turn myself in, like, all right, I'm going back to my seat. And then that was it. They threw us completely out of the whole place. So, but they actually, but I went back and I bought their music on vinyl. And it just, it doesn't do a lot for me. I have been checking them out on YouTube, and a little better, but it's kind of like you got to be there. You got to be there for the live experience. You got to be there. I went online and looked, and I would travel to go see that band. You know, they were like the vibe, and of course it was a great night. It was cooler out, and I was buzzed up a little bit. But I was with my daughter. But no, they were off the chain. I loved them.
She'll never forget that night. You know, like those. I mean, think about it. You know, the differences between, let's say, parents of, you know, I mean, we're close enough in age. I mean, obviously we have completely different experiences in terms of age of kids and stuff like that. But like, let's say just generally say our generation, the experiences that we have with kids, right, that I had with my dad, you know, it's not like the experiences our parents had with their parents, right, where it was like very formal, perhaps a little bit more formal.
Of course,
rigid.
yeah.
Now it's like, you know,
they weren't going to Dave Matthews.
Right, exactly. Your daughter will be like, you know, she might think like one of the greatest experiences she ever had with you was that night, you know, and like dad, you know, busted us down from level to level to level, and it was fucking cool, and we had drinks together. Like, I know I feel that way about my dad. I know my sister does, and those are like.
Your dad was ahead of his time on that, though, right? He was one generation kind of ahead for sure. You know?
Yeah.
I hung out with your dad, like, you know, we hung out on South Beach and shit, and you know, he was exceptionally cool. Like, you know, you could be with him and be like, yeah, he'd be cool to be his kid. So for sure, I mean, he was a generation ahead. I would say.
Yeah, he definitely was. He really. He had a great sense of appreciation for and a great knack for like staying on top of shit that was like, this is the new thing. Like remarkably.
Cool. Yeah, it was just cool like that. You know? I can remember being in South Beach with him. And we were just bobbing around. I don't even know why. And you know, Joe was little, and he was a little dude, right? And somebody was like giving us a hard time, and I was almost gonna have to get into some shit. Like, hey, I got this, Joe. Like, don't worry about, I got this dude, you know. But yeah, we were. You know, let's go check out this place. Let's go over here. You know, let's go have a drink over here. You know, we were
totally.
You know, I remember we were definitely at the Delano, and then we were walking to the Shore Club to get a cocktail, a glass of wine, and you know, he was so comfortable there.
He loved it.
Yeah.
He loved it. I still remember the first call that I ever got from him when he came down here, because he came down to work for the Potamkins, and I remember when he first came down, and I got a voicemail from him. I think I was probably I don't even know where I was. I guess I was still in Colorado. He's like. It was like nighttime, like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and he was recounting like his experience of driving up and down the causeways at night and seeing all the neon lights and like how amazing it was. And I'll never forget like the excitement I remember hearing in his voice as he described Miami for the first time, as it was really sinking in on him, and he was like, "This place is fucking amazing."
Yeah, he definitely had all of his spots, and this was because when I first met your dad, he was still in Miami.
Yeah.
And then he went to Houston, which I think he hated.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you know.
The last time I saw your dad was at his really cool place he had in Atlanta.
Yes.
Like, I forget exactly where it was, but it was like a high rise.
Yeah.
And it was really like, it looked like your office. It was really chill and so on. And he just invited me there. I don't even think I was even working with him at that point, you know, and we had some wine and shit. And that was the last time I saw him.
Yeah.
It was in Atlanta.
That was a while ago. Well.
Where's our girl? I'm going to have a cocktail.
Hey, Greg, would you ask Donna to bring the Macallan in here? Yeah, I hate to do that. Like, Donna, bring us a drink. You know,
no,
she's
I mean,
so fucking cool, but like, that's what we got to do.
Yeah, she don't take any offense to it.
No.
She can have it, pour her one.
Well, she bought this for me. She bought this bottle like a few weeks ago.
All right.
Yeah, so we're in good shape.
She can sit down and have a drink with
us. So let's continue. Okay. Well, I'm going to shift gears.
I didn't even know we started the podcast.
I know.
No, I didn't know. Isn't there an introduction or something? No.
Well, we just went into it. That's the way it goes.
Good.
So, ladies and gentlemen, JJ, Mr. Jackintelle, episode. This is your second. This is number 2. You're back, and better than ever.
Thank you. Yeah, this is number 2.
You know,
a little less formal here this time. I had a coffee cup with beer in it last time I was here.
You did.
Yes, I did.
You did. But this time we're going to keep it more out in the open. So something that I think is interesting. Okay, so like a couple weeks ago at the end of September, you send me the, let's call it the Honda South Florida District Sales Report, right? You guys sold 354 new Hondas, if I'm correct, and turned 100% of your inventory. 100%. And if I remember you correctly, you said we went 5 days after that with not a single new Honda.
Yeah, it was
on the lot.
30. I think it's like 33 years I've been doing this. Obviously, this is this whole world is different. But to be in the car business, well, my role as well for the last 100 years has been like, how many cars we have on the board, how many leads we have coming in today, all my stores. And that wasn't just that store, it was our Nissan store as well. And our Kia store was in great shape because they had like 12 cars, So yeah, I mean, like 3-4 days of nothing, zero, like, we haven't had a car delivered. And that's where we plan on ending up at the end of this month. So the goal is to just end with zero again, whether that's the 25th or the 26th. But you're not really quitting doing business, because I looked at the pre-sale report this morning, and I think just at Honda alone, we've got over 70 vehicles pre-sold.
Right.
So 9 come off the truck, 9 customers get called, and and they all go away. So it's been different. How I manage is, I'm having to come up with a new, call it management style of, how we run the store,
right.
What makes sense. That was a first, to be at zero. And we have a 5-story parking garage that holds like 3,000 cars. So we just paved the entire lot. Really good time to pave the lot. There's never a good time in a car business to blacktop the lot and stripe the lot. But I'm like, all right, if nothing else, let's pave the damn lot right now.
Right, hold on, time. Donna, it's okay. Come on in.
Hi, Donna. Can I get an ice cube too?
Sure.
I heard that you brought this.
I did.
Good. You pick out way better scotch than Chris.
Can I have your glass?
Yes, thank you. Last time I think I had some kind of Bacardi rum.
No, it was okay. So I'll tell you about that. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah, no, we had the good booze, and by the last time you came here, the good booze was gone, and like the well booze was still here, and it was like, every time I looked at the bar card, I was like, oh, that's embarrassing, man. Like, what do we got going on over there?
It's a good thing. Yeah, I was coming here today, and Kimberly, my assistant, I said, I'm going to go see Chris, and we got a little bit of business. We're going to do a podcast, and she's never been here. We have to have her here.
I've invited her on the podcast. She's like, I need to talk to.
She needs to, because she's done so well with growth. And I say growth, not just but working with me, and her confidence and just the way she approaches shit. She's a beast now, and this would be really cool for her. And
I would love it.
Really interesting girl. But she's like, his office seems so cool, like, because she sees it on social media, like, oh yeah, it's fucking cool as hell. I mean, there's like, I'm gonna have a drink. The band's gonna practice and stuff. And thank you.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you, Donna.
Another cameo. Donna always. We always find the way for Donna to have the most awkward cameos, when she comes in and she's got to like adjust something or whatever. All right, there we go.
Yeah,
cheers.
Man. Cheers, buddy. Salute.
Okay. Where were we?
You wanted to start with music, partying, cocktails, and then go to business. But let's roll with it.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We're going to begin our episode.
Let's go with it.
Let's start our episode now.
We're on the 3rd floor watching the sunset, and now we're at 0 cars. But let's go into business.
Okay,
I think I'm more open about it as well.
I got a lot of positive feedback on our last conversation, and from our clients and my dealer friends that get it, a lot of them said, I really enjoyed that conversation because JJ fucking gets it. Like, he just understands the business, right? And so, of course, we got to touch on it a little bit. We can veer all over wherever we want.
Office,
but
here's probably the biggest thing I think that I had to get my head around, right? So
right.
It is, the world is what it is. Our business is what it is, right? And I started to allow it to like frustrate me. And I thought, you know what? It'll be different again. Because truthfully, I don't have a lot to do, right? So marketing is, you're my marketing guy, right?
Yeah.
So, typically you're getting voice notes from me at 2 a.m. I'm checking all the websites. All of the video. So we're not doing a lot of that. We're not spending a lot of money, right? So that's a big piece of what I do. I don't delegate out the marketing. So that part of it has really become like, what don't I need to spend money on right now, right? Or what makes sense, or because you can't just, we're not invisible, right? There's still competition. I don't care what anybody says. If everybody's pre-ordering cars, they got to pre-order them from somebody, right? So it's not, but definitely not deals and all the other things, cutting this dealer has this car for X. So that's kind of gone away. What I do with your team is kind of like the beginning of the month and we're done.
Right.
Pushing, a lot of the pushing I would do, or a lot of like the excess or aged inventory or ordering cars or really managing the allocation, all that's gone. So, and I've got, on the flip side of that, so I got a really good crew. We haven't had any major turnover in 3 years. I've got, real quality people. Our culture is molded to the point where it's I'm just doing little plucks of what I call like weeding the garden now. The garden's planted, the tomatoes are growing, a little weed pops up, I'm on it,
Right.
And so but the heavy lifting has been done. So I finally had to just embrace, I got some, I just got some downtime. Let's do something different. I've changed my style. I go in the office later. I leave earlier. I'm doing other things with my life, and because I had at first I was like on this huge guilt trip, so I just go sit there, all day, and just and
just
not
to
that
be
I'm,
there.
And I'm still right, just to be there because it just felt right, and I had to like give myself permission to check out and be okay with that, and just know that okay, I can enjoy this little dip in life, as I say dip at our business, and because there's going to be a time, it was, and the reason I really got okay with it was because 18 months ago, I was there, key to key, 7 days a week basically. I mean, I wasn't there, hardcore on the weekends, but we were in violation of being closed down. We had tape on the floors. We had signs. We had masks. If it wasn't over your nose, we had to write you up in HR. You had to go home. So that was like the other side of it, right? It was zero relaxation. There was no, there was no chill time. There was no downtime. And it was, if I was home or I wasn't at the office, my mind was like, COVID and inventory and what's going to happen, and and not just managing the store, but managing the mask and managing the 6 foot apart and managing all the other shit.
Yeah.
So that was another piece of it, right? So I worked harder and more intensely. I lost a couple years of my life doing that. So now I've given myself permission. Okay, things have changed. It's okay. It's cool. Go out on a Tuesday at 3:00 and take your boat out and get on the ocean and and do your thing, and it's all right. And for guys like, especially for my generation, you live with this huge guilt trip, constantly. But I'm over it, man. Fuck it,
See, I think that's so important and refreshing because, we work in an industry where you've got a lot of alpha males, alpha females, and, there is that mentality of like the sort of that guilt that you place on yourself. Like, oh man, I'm letting myself relax, or I'm letting myself take it easy a little bit, or enjoy it. And it's good to break through that at a certain point in time and say, no. Like this is my life, right? And when the heat is on and I need to do what I need to do, I'm going to do what I need to do. But if I don't need to be there, and if being there is just going to drive everybody fucking crazy because I'm just basically sitting there trying to figure out what I should do.
Oh, I was going, like, we just put a new bathroom in, so we have like these auto flush things, right? So I'd go in the bathroom, be pissing in the toilet, I'd take a picture and send it to my guy. Like, I mean, it's, how at that point I knew. But it is an opportunity because it's gonna, I already know, like, it's gonna change again. And my mentality was like, when I was so intense in this business, when it really, really was, things were different as well.
Right.
I mean, if I didn't wake up in the morning and have dreams about customers or car deals, I felt like I was failing myself. That's how. Right. So this has been difficult, but the only thing that's helped me is the type of work we did, to stay. I mean, we had the city trying to close our business, and like a lot of them, we had code enforcement in there, like, every 3 hours, and Chris doesn't have his mask over his nose, that's a violation. So it allowed me to, like, okay, that was the hardest time, so I'm gonna embrace this and I'm not partying my ass off or anything, but I'm okay letting myself breathe a little bit, because I actually know there's a storm brewing. That's how I feel anyway. I think there's a storm brewing, and and it's gonna be a shit show. And
what do you think the shit show is going to? That's what I'm really curious about. Because we all listen. All of us, in this business, have talked about the here and now like ad nauseum. It is what it fucking is. There's no cars. Used car values are through the roof. Service departments are backed up. Blah 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 blah. Right. But something's happening out there in the future, right? Like if you look out over the ocean, there's a storm. It's still a long way away. It could be 12, 15, 18 months away. But at some point in time, this shit's all going to kind of come together.
Well, we think. You know what I mean? You know, I think if anything, COVID taught us, like, we don't know shit, right? You know, we don't know anything. Like, this car business is like COVID to me. You know, it's, you know, we think it's under control, and then there's a spike, and then so on. So we kept trying to figure it out. I think we've got things in place now to be in the here now, right? As far as how things are operating and so on. I think, I mean, if I was, and I think we talked about this earlier, I think that, you know, we're going to see what we're seeing for a long time. It's going to be really, you know, low availability. I'm pretty close to the top because most of my franchises operate within the top, you know, 2 or 3 nationwide. So that actually gives you a little more access, right, to different executives or different levels at the manufacturer side, especially, well, on all of our franchises. So I do have, let's say, more information, as much as they have, and everybody, including the people I'm dealing with in the U.S., are still speculating. But the manufacturers are making, and that was my concern. Like, you know, I'm okay. I've always thought, you know, we stock way too many cars, and it depleted it. And it's a supply and demand thing, right? With anything, right? So I've never been convinced that was, you know, all this selection and all this availability. If nothing else, I've learned that if you don't have white, they'll take black. If you don't have red, they'll take blue. I mean, it's right. You know, we just offered too much, and of course you can't blame the consumer because, you know, there was all these different options and so on. And I've realized that, you know, we don't have Civics, so you can have an HRV. Let me drive an HRV. Okay, we like it, you know. So we'd have never done that before. It was, you know, we'd have ran around like idiots looking for the Civic and so on.
Yeah, right. We need 10 Civics for you to choose from, or 100
Correct.
Civics for you to choose from.
So I was concerned that the manufacturers are getting their ass kicked, right? So as soon as they could get production back up to healthy levels, then, you know, all of a sudden we'd be overstocked, and then there'd be, you know, kind of race to the bottom again, pricing wise. But from what I understand, and I haven't seen it yet, and I look every day, I haven't seen it yet in the stock as far as like Honda and so on, and Ford. They've been relatively flat. Ford's starting to move forward. I think Ford's up like 20% in the last, you know, month. But I understand they're making, you know, the reports are going to come out, the earnings are going to come out, they're going to be good. And so I think that they're going to find this sweet spot between, if we build less cars, then we have to give less incentives, and incentives are number one, expense for these manufacturers, right? The more cars they build, the less that sell, the more they have to incentivize, and then at the end of the day, the ones that really don't sell, they got to give you more trunk money on them, you know. So a car that sells relatively well, then we give you $1,000. A car that, you know, is sitting there, you get $5,000 on, whatever. And then, of course, their storage and their floor plan cost and so on. So when I started to hear things like they're giving up storage facilities, you know, manufacturers are now, you know what, we don't need that 100 acres we used to store cars on, because the cars are going to go from factory to dealer direct. And I'm sure it's affecting their bottom line. So while it is affecting their bottom line, and we're okay with that flow of vehicles as well. You know, 2 years ago, I had 3 offsite storage lots, and I've got enough storage on my facility to store 3,000 cars, right? I had 180 cars, 119 cars with 5 dealerships. We have this dealership in St. Augustine. So I had 119 cars 2 months ago when I ended the month. Last month I had like 40. So, and we were renting total 5 franchises, or 5 dealerships, 4 franchises. So we were renting lots. I had 5 acres rented here. I rented from the mall across the street. I rented from all over. So we're giving up all that as well. So everybody's benefiting from this, you know, this bad behavior that was created, overproducing and so on. Now, where the manufacturers go with it will be yet to be determined. If someone, I believe that at some point someone's gonna break the bad behavior or the good behavior and start to overproduce and try to gain market share and be sneaky. And I hope that doesn't happen. But I'm going to guess it's not. I mean, you know, it's hard for us all to accept that, you know, this is normal. And I had this conversation the other day with somebody that was not old enough to know about airport security, right? And like, I said, no, you used to be able to go to the gate and, and hug your girlfriend goodbye and, and sit with her and, and have a coffee and walk her to the plane. And then if they were coming in, you could stand by the plane with balloons and go through security. There was no shoes and shit. I'm like, you're fucking crazy. So 9/11 happened. And then, we know what we deal with now, and it never went away. It never changed. Now you have all this. It's normal. And no one would, and who thought that security would stay? Was it going to stay for a while? Well, while we sorted through 9/11, but it's here forever. And that to me was like a good analogy that things could change forever. I mean, dealers stock. I mean, in Europe they don't stock cars. In Europe, cars go directly to a customer. I think I told you earlier, Rolex now is going to sell directly to the consumer. Now through a dealer, right? You're not going to cut out the dealer. You're not going to be able to just go on Rolex.com and buy a watch. But because, they've gotten so short in availability, like I think for the next 3 years or whatever until forever, they're going to be allocated to Chris Herman. That watch is being built for him. It's being shipped to him to Fort Lauderdale. In Europe, they do it in the model. I don't know enough about the model, but they don't stock cars. And they, every car that comes in is primarily pre-sold or pre-built. And I think that we'll get pretty close. When I'm talking about guys we need to turn 100%, how many cars do we have? We call it now the new lingo. Chris, and you've been in the car business for a while. There's a new term. It's called touch. How many cars will we touch this month? That's an email I send out. We'll touch 435 Hondas. Well, that's our sales objective, 435 Hondas. So how nuts is that, right? So that's a new term. We have,
but there's some people out there that think that that dealerships are not selling cars because there's no inventory. I mean, you're still talking about 434 cars, right? Like, I realize that's an anecdotal number, but even 354 last month, which is not where you need to be, it's not nothing. I mean, there's still cars flowing through. We haven't hit the wall. I don't. There's so much speculation. Like, are we starting to go the other way as far as productivity? And people feel like or think that it's a chip issue, right? There is definitely a microprocessor problem. There's a COVID issue, but there's all these supply chains. There's cars that that are being held up because of a wiring harness coming out of Thailand, and that's where they get all the wiring harnesses. The one thing that I think that is dealers or that don't understand is when you think about a Honda assembly plant. It is an assembly plant. They don't make anything there. They don't manufacture. So all the shit comes there, and then they build the car. So if one thing doesn't come there, we learned that with the microprocessors, right? So the chips couldn't come, so they're building the cars, and there's weight on the chips. Well, now they're not getting insulation for the doors. They're not getting the foam for the seats because that came out of Texas. And we learned that when there was the ice storm in Texas. There was no foam for the seats. So this supply chain issue is compounded with now this workforce issue. And then you've got still, COVID protocol. And so it's a long time from being corrected. Yeah, it's crazy. And it's every industry. I mean, it's not just the car business at this point in time. You've got supply chain issues in every industry. You've got the ports backed up. There's all these crazy videos online where, you see all these shipping these cargo shipping, the cargo ships. They're all sitting out at port or they're sitting offshore all around the world right now, loaded up. Of course, everybody thinks that this is some like manufactured, economic slowdown. But the more I dug into it, because I was curious about it, it's not. It's just there's not enough shoremen working at the docks.
There ain't enough ship on the boat, and then when there is enough stuff on the boat, there's half the load. Then they can't get that load unloaded.
Well, but they're so packed up right now that, and just like we backed away from microprocessors, 2.5 years ago, because I've heard that the industry was like, they didn't sign up for what was available, and then those chips went elsewhere, right? A lot of the docks and a lot of the shipping, good grief, I'm going to say this right. That's what I get for having a cocktail in the middle of the afternoon here. Anyway, the docks don't have enough workers. They let them all go during COVID, or they didn't keep them, or they didn't train new ones. So there's not enough people to unload all these ships. It's fucking backed up. Like they're talking about, this year at Christmas time, there's toys and all kinds of stuff coming from around the world that's not even going to make it.
It's going to change behavior.
Yeah.
I think that the dependency I know manufacturers are talking about we don't want to be as dependent, so it's going to change a lot of that behavior. And maybe Christmas we'll just eat and drink and sing, and and it'll be so it's going to. We're definitely in a place where it's going to change behavior dramatically.
You said something that really struck me as surprising because I hadn't given it any thought, right? And I guess it's not that I didn't give it thought, but when I thought about, well, how are the manufacturers doing? In my mind, I was like, well, they must be struggling a little bit right now because they're not producing and they're not wholesaling cars, right? I didn't think of it like a dealer and say, well, they also don't have the inventory cost. They don't have the finance cost of holding the inventory. They don't have to pay for these extra lots all the extra stuff that goes along, the incentives. I didn't think of that. And I wonder, maybe I'm the only one that doesn't realize that. But I wonder how many people in our business haven't really given it a thought or understand that perhaps the manufacturers are doing okay right now. And maybe they finally look at this as like, wow, we can have a different business model. I don't think it's going to stick though. Like we've seen time and time again.
I've never seen no shit like this.
No, but the amount of dumbness and greed that kicks into our industry and everybody just like wants to pull the fucking, push the lever forward 100%. I don't see that not happening at some point in time because somebody's going to be like, hey, we need a little hedge up.
It'll depend on the math. I mean,
right?
We don't know the math. I mean, I know the math at the dealer level is getting better, but the manufacturer math, I mean, we just don't have.
Right.
I mean, we're not privy to that information. It'll come out in the stock prices eventually, but I don't know. I'm going to bet that our industry's forever changed. Will it get better? Yeah. Will it be some availability? Yeah. Even if all the behavior they want to change it, we're still a year and a half away from that.
Yeah, I agree. How are your people? Like the people that are working in the business right now, what is life like for them? What are they,
they've adapted, they've adapted. I'm spending a little bit more time, because I'm curious as well, like what does behavior look like for a salesman, right? And they're pre-selling, their word tracks have changed. My business development center or outbound calls are changing as far as come in, pre-order your car. We've got 42 Civics available that'll be here in the next 30 days. But you need to get in here and get your name on one and give us a deposit, etc. So, we haven't laid off anybody at all from that. From a productivity standpoint, salespeople and so on. We're making a little bit more money on the cars. So it's just selling a few less cars at a higher commission. And this is public shit, right?
Yeah.
And the behavior's changed. They're not screaming deals now. They're basically screaming availability. And I actually do. There's a friend of mine who has a direct mail company and for advertising. So for dealers, and so they're sitting on their hands, right? They're used to typical stuff. So. He asked me to come up and do some, really like give him some industry insight on what the hell they can do, right? To get all these salespeople in there and they, their dealers aren't spending money and so on.
Are we talking about a particular company in Northern Florida?
Yeah, we are. Yeah. My friend John Hamlin.
Yeah, I know John.
Yeah, John. Yeah, and John, John's a great dude. And
I agree.
So I went up and I wouldn't call it a sales meeting, but I went up and did a meeting with them and said, okay, there's still a need, but what you guys are serving up has got to change. Here's my needs now. And we actually just had a Zoom sales call. I say sales call. I mean, I had some new information that I shared with John. He said, hey, would you mind getting on a call with my team? And I said, so here's what a piece of mail needs to look like. It needs to look like a inventory sheet. And I said, do you ever remember the old Auto Trader, right, where there'd be like a page and it'd be like sold? Why would they advertise a sold car? If you look at a magazine for homes, this one's sold. Why the fuck are we advertising a sold home? Because we're showing that urgency, right?
Right, shit's happening.
So
better act.
I said, I sent them a screenshot of our sales log, which is all straight up. And I said, here's 15 cars on this sheet and 8 of them are sold. I think the mail should look like that. I think the consumer mail should look like, not that is the availability sheet, but that's a screenshot of what's going on. So, right. And then the language should be, which is all again above board. You need to order your car. You need to pre-order your car that's coming in, that's pre-built. And so I said, John, if you guys want to go to market Go to market with that. Go to market with, that's what I want. So what I'm basically doing is I'm helping them understand what's going on in the industry, because there still is a need. I'd rather, like I said, I'd rather you pre-order your car from me than my competitor. So we had and since then I'm actually going to, help them proof the creative, but it's all still happening. It's just happening differently. There's still competition. There's still somebody going to, Mr. Jones is going to pre-order their car from me or them or, or another dealer. So I actually told them, I go, it's still sales. It's still, there's still 7 Honda stores within, 20 miles of me. I still want more customers to come to me than others, but here's what you need to present. So that it's just changing the way we look at things,
This is my thought. Of course, I own an agency. We derive business from helping dealers communicate their message, whatever it might be, right? So I've been accused of being self-serving in some of my marketing messaging, but am I wrong in saying that at some point in time in the next 12 to 15 to 18 months, dealers are going to have to, some way, somehow, in a cost-efficient way, communicate to their customers and say, this is what's going on. This is how we're operating our business right now. We're facing some very unprecedented challenges. Without saying this, these challenges may be frustrating for you, our customer. You don't say that, right? But here are the things that we're doing at our dealership to make sure that you can A, still get a new vehicle, B, get a quality used vehicle, or C, get into our service department and maintain the vehicle that you're keeping on the road longer. Like, is that fucked for me to say that people should be saying that kind of stuff?
I think you should be sleeping better, because prior to this, no consumer was that concerned. I go to the lot, they got 1,000 cars, etc. So it's never probably going to be more important to steer that customer over these next couple of years than it was. I could have backed off, let's say, pretty much everything, just been on Google, right? Find me if you're looking for a Honda store near me, a Nissan store near me, a Buick store near me. But I probably overplayed, because as dealers, we overplayed that marketing, right? But now I think the consumer, that was my point to John the other day, is they need more information they've ever needed.
Right.
They need communicated more than they've ever needed. Before they did, they just knew. They drove up to a lot, they'd have 700 cars, and but now it's different. How do I get a car? My lease is up in 4 months. They're looking for direction, and it isn't just out there, and it isn't out there on, let's say, on search, where you could see $199 a month. That car ain't available anymore.
Right.
So I think marketing is going to change. Like I think we had a meeting yesterday, with a Zoom call yesterday with them, and it just was pro bono on my part. John's a good friend, and I love helping people.
I got to give him a call back.
I really love helping people, and I like helping. They're a high and tight organization, a real class organization, and I'm like, we can help these guys. They got families, they got and what can I do? And I have the insight, but again, so you can rest assured, I think that it's going to be even more strategic for marketing. We're talking to a consumer with a different mindset than before. The mindset before, it was all kind of like, what could you say that somebody else didn't say? And you can say it a little more colorful, or we could, we could talk about, we had a different spokesperson or this or that. It was still kind of like the price and driving and a lot of it was branding as well, right? Just staying out there, keeping your name out there. But now to communicate with this customer, this is how it works. This is what you have to do.
Here's what you can expect.
If your lease is up in 6 months, you need to get out there in 3 months and get your car on order. Like, there's a lot of things that I think are going to be more imperative to communicate than even prior to. Prior to was a lot more noise and a lot less detail. And I think that, for your agency, it's going to have to be a lot more granular as far as communication. And that was a conversation I had with Hamlin on the other day. Like, you're going to have to get way more specific, and the consumer's going to look at that mail and say, I see how it's working now. They got 30 cars coming in, 13 of them are sold. This is how it's working. We're pre-selling cars. It's a deposit-based deal. And so I think you're going to have to focus, if I'm giving you advice, is educating the customer more. The dealer needs to understand, and you're a car guy, so you'll have definitely an edge up, is that you understand the industry. You're having people like myself on here to you know, because you're gonna have to go. The dealers, most of us don't have any freaking answers, right? So never before have we been looking for direction, and that's what I explained to John's team. Like, come to me with ideas now, because my ideas have always been, you know, price, deal, sale. There's no more sales.
Right.
You know, we used to barbecue on Saturdays, right? And chicken and balloons and face paint the kids and shit. That stuff's over right now. So I said to him, if you can get ahead of it and get out there with real support, you know, where the dealer's like, I like that idea, because we all need fresh ideas. We've been running the same ideas for 100 years. And I've been doing this for 30 plus. I've never experienced nothing like this, so I need help. Mm-hmm. How do I stay competitive? How do I keep my edge? And it's not with balloons and $199 a month.
I'm glad to hear you say that. You know, today we had our promotional email blast, and the video associated with it is essentially me saying that you got to talk to your customer and tell them what's going on.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Serious question.
Sure.
In the middle of a podcast, and you have to pee. What do? You're like, take my headphones off. You talk to the audience for a minute. Like, what do we do?
We could pause for a second. Yeah. You got to go?
I got to go, man.
Okay, hold on. We'll take a pause. I'm going to slide the key down to you.
Oh, yeah, the pee key.
All right. Time out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We took a little break. It's the first break ever we've ever taken on deck, and why not? So what were we talking about?
We were talking about marketing. We were talking about the need for marketing, and I was telling you that I think that the rent's going to be okay, because I think that as dealers, you've been listening to our shit forever. Like, we kind of tell you what we think, and you're like thinking, oh, we got to get them off that. But now, because things have changed so much and the consumer behavior's changed so much, I don't think there's ever going to be a bigger need moving forward, because everything's going to change. How we market, what we say, how we say it. It's been pretty much the same. Like I said, I've been doing this 30 plus years. It's almost been the same, other than, we added Google search and so on, but still that led you back to the deal, led you back to all the other shit, right? So marketing to people now is going to be totally different. What do you say is going to be totally different. How do you say it? Who do you communicate with? I think that you're going to find there's going to be a bigger need for marketing than there ever has been. Okay?
Amen.
No, I really believe that. I think that my experience with John and his team, and giving them like insight and them changing their entire approach, I'm like, this is what you're gonna have to do to stay on the edge.
John says a good dude. He's a rock and roll guy. He's a guitar guy too. He was here to do the podcast a couple months ago, and he was. Oh,
excited. I didn't know that. I didn't know you knew him well.
Oh yeah. In fact, you're saying this, and I remember he called me the other day, and I have not gotten back to him, so I need to. I like John a lot.
He's a cool cat, man. And he's a really, really good person.
When we get, this whole deal, this Wednesday night deal, this band rehearsal thing that we do here, it's going to turn into some kind of thing here, right? And I would love to have like you and John, because he was like, oh, anytime you guys rehearse, I'll come down. I'd love to hang out. I'll bring some friends.
He's going to be here.
Yeah, you know what?
He just texted me. Let me see when he's going to be here.
He might be here now, and that would be a real shame if I fucked up and didn't get
I'm
back
heading
to
he's going somewhere to climb a fucking mountain or something.
Yeah.
Grant, who is his right-hand guy, Zimmerman.
Yeah. Grant was on the podcast
next
too.
Wednesday and Thursday next week.
Next week?
Yeah, next week, yeah.
Anyway, we'll do a thing here. Like, you were telling me you want to do this like eclectic gathering, or like I want to do the exact same thing, and whether it happens here on Wednesday nights or I'd like to do like a positive thing on Sundays, but
I think a midweek for business dudes, like I wouldn't call it networking, because I kind of hate that term.
No, just like have people come together, be able to hang out in an environment, we'll play music, have some drinks, have some dinner, just hang, talk about the business.
I think that's a great idea, and you can get, you'll pick up a lot of content as well, and people will make, will make relationships and so on.
Yeah.
When I went up to John's office, he is such a cool dude. So he texts me, and I'm going there, to help him. And what's going on, right, with all the young people, and like even in your office, right? I mean, people, and I wear sneakers to work and shit. So John texts me and he says, and I know he did it like he didn't know what to do, right? So he said, "Listen, wear whatever you want, whatever, but we wear suits here." And I love, I'm a suit and tie guy. I mean, I hate the fact that, matter of fact, I went to dinner the other night with with someone, and we wore sport coats and shit. We went to a really cool place up in Boca, and it felt good. After COVID, I mean, we really dilapidated our. So I said, "Oh, John, it's cool." So I got out a suit up? Tie and suited up,
nice.
and pocket square. He had all these young kids, 26, 25 years old. I mean, they were suit, tie, pocket square, like we used to do business back in the day, and it was really cool, man. It was everybody. I mean, not everybody. And you wore, in Cardone's offices like that as well. Like those guys they don't face a customer. 99% of the time, the guys, they're on the phones and they're pounding the phones, but they are shirt, tie, suited up, top buttoned, and there's something about that just gives a different vibe. And they don't seek people. No one comes in at off. I mean, they have people walking through and shit, but when you're on that phone talking to that customer and you're not in a sweatshirt, you're not in a t-shirt, you just have a different feel,
I agree. We've got our crew coming back Mondays and Wednesdays now, and I made the commitment to myself that starting this upcoming Monday, I'm back to suit. Monday's going to be my suit up day.
Monday should be.
Just come in, and I'm not going to mandate it of anybody. Just see how people kind of like adapt to it. But for me personally, I haven't worn I've got a closet full of beautiful suits and sport coats and slacks and all that stuff, and I like wearing it too. So I just say, you know what? Every Monday, fucking show up. And I told the crew, I was like, now that this stage is built out, Monday, it's going to be a celebration. We're going to come in here, the music's going to be jamming, we're going to have an inspirational meeting, we'll have guest speakers, we're going to do stuff every Monday so that when you come in here, you feel like it was worth coming in to get your week started.
I like that.
Here.
I think there's not enough of that, and I felt that when I went up and saw his team. Like I felt good to do it as well. Like I did a full, call it sales meeting, training, and and like I did. I don't even remember last time I did it. Suit, tie, the whole deal. At the end of the day, it was always cool to like undo that
loosen
knot.
Up,
man.
Loosen up, man.
That's how I felt at the end of the day. I didn't want the day to end. Actually, we actually stopped on my way. So I took my son with me, and John sent a plane down for us, which was really cool. It got us up there super quick. But I don't know if you know Ralph from SAT. Ralph George, right on the corner of Sunrise. They do all of our leather packages and so on. He's a really, really good dude. And his dad has passed.
What do they call it? Suncoast Auto Trim or something?
No, Specialty Automotives.
Okay.
They do most of the high end shit here in South Florida. Mm-hmm. So they'll plug you for you there, Ralph. But his dad probably passed around the same time as your dad did, and his dad owned the business, and Ralph and his sister worked there, right? And for their dad, and so anyway, I worked with his dad quite a bit, and he was a hustler, good dude. I mean, out in the store, always whatever you needed, man. He was, he was an old school business guy. So that day we get off the plane, and I'm just feeling, I'm feeling. I got my tie like half done. It's, and I had my son with me, and so we're at the corner of Sunrise and I guess Federal, right, where his office is. And I said, pull in here, let's go see Ralph. I hadn't seen him in a while,
Right.
And so let's go see Ralph. And I didn't know if he was going to be there. So we go in, and I asked if he was there, and he's, so he comes down, and we've known each other for a while. He's done a bunch of work for me. So ironically, it was his dad's birthday that particular day, and Ralph offices in his dad's old office, right? So we go up there, and his dad was, he was an 80s guy, right? So the way that, the office and so on. And Ralph had not touched like a lot of shit in the office. So like the table, like the big coffee table that had like Ocean Magazine and all that stuff was all still exactly, like what it was. And it just was his thing, like how he felt, right? So we go up there, and there's a desk and the chairs. Then there's like this, that little quad area, right? The coffee table and the leather chairs and shit. So he goes, today's my dad's birthday. And he said, you want to have a drink? And I said, yeah, sure, let's have a drink. And this is like, and again, I'm still in my suit and shit, right? So like this is like the way it used to be, right?
Yeah.
You stop somewhere and have a drink, and then you visit with this guy and talk business. And we talk some business. And Ralph doesn't drink scotch, and so on. But we went in his dad's liquor cabinet. he found a bottle. He's like, is this good? You know, it was like a really nice bottle of scotch. I go, yeah. He goes, you know, so we sat in his dad's office on his birthday, and, you know, my son and me and Ralph and had a cocktail with his dad's booze, right? That he had, and his dad's probably been gone as long as your dad's been gone, probably. I don't know. How long has Joe been gone?
7 years.
So maybe 5 or 6, but really pretty close. So just like to bring that up today, like to be sitting in his office, you know, with his son and myself and drinking a half empty bottle of scotch that he had knocked off the first half, you know, was so that was, but it was part of like the vibe I was feeling that day.
You know, we've lost, maybe the right word isn't to say we've lost it, because things have changed, and it's not to say that there aren't new traditions or there aren't new things that are meaningful. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I dress casually almost every day, you know, but there is something that just feels proper about being dressed for business.
Or Vegas,
right? You know, and just like, you know, you just fucking show up, you got your best suit on, shirt, tie, you know, everything's dialed in. I know that when I dress that way, I feel like the best, most confident version of myself, without a doubt. No question about it.
I don't not get it. I that was like, has been, you know, if I had business on Monday or if I had something. And Friday was just kind of like, because I wasn't feeling it on Friday. I felt like I didn't want to, for especially the car business, like Friday was never a heavy day because you didn't want to lean in on anybody going into the weekend.
You gotta gear you up, you know?
I hope that there's a, you know, as things change, you know, it'd be cool to see some of that. Like, it was really cool that day. And that's why I brought up going by Ralph's office, was because it just was like, I just was feeling good, you know, like, let's go visit this guy. His business.
Right.
I mean, he's a business guy, you know, let's pop in there. And so I think I'm going to, to your point, I think I'm going to, you know, because pre-COVID I did, you know, I dressed for work because I just felt better. I felt more confident. I felt more like, you know, like I could have a conversation. It just felt different. I would be in my office, never leave, and I'd have a sport coat on all day. And after, you know, COVID, I'm in there with a freaking mask on and shit. I'm not gonna have, you know, I'm not gonna be my tie and a mask. But I'm going back there.
Yeah.
So come with me if you want. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. No, this Monday, boom, we're doing it. We're
right.
Gonna,
I'll
we're
send
gonna
you a
kick
picture.
it off.
Monday's gonna be my day.
Okay, and I'll send you a picture of mine. So I'm curious. Now that you've had, you know, you said you've given yourself permission to take a little time to breathe, right? And the last conversation that we had, we ended a little bit more on the new JJ, right? And so now that and it's been some months since we had that conversation, now that you've, you know, been through COVID, we've been through all this shit, and you've given yourself some time to think and breathe, not at the store driving 24/7. Any new insights into who you are? Any new discoveries about yourself that you're like, hey, why do I got to put you on the spot like this?
No, it's all right. I don't mind the spot. Let me just make myself a sip here.
There you
go. Well, that's a big one. That's a big one to be okay with that. You know, I did before I answer that. So I hadn't been feeling good, right, the last like couple weeks. And of course, I've had 72 COVID tests, and never COVID. I had, like, you know, the flu. So I've been kind of like, you know, laying low as far as like, you know, if I want to go work out at 10 and, you know, and go to the office at 11, you know, I was cool with that, right? So when I was sick, I went to work because, you know, back where I grew up in a business, like, you know, you were a badass if you had like NyQuil and Theraflu and all this shit behind your desk. And you were at the office, suited down, shirt and tie, and you were, you know, you're sweating your ass off and you're grinding. And it was crazy because I remember Kimberly saying, you know, like, why are you here? I don't know. It just, when I'm sick, like, obviously, you know, take COVID out of the equation. Like, I feel like I have to push myself here, right? So that was just like, it was wild. Like, I can't stay home and stay in bed. I can stay home and jack around, you know, or lay by the pool, but I can't stay home and stay in bed sick. I have to go to the office. I think that's just something that is like, it was instilled. It was weird. And anyway, she's like, well, you know, if you're not here yesterday for the whole day, why are you grinding out today? But that's how we did things, you know. Like, you didn't call in sick, and someone called in sick, like, hey boss, I don't feel good. They hung up on them. You know, then next thing you know, it'd be at the office. So, But with that said, you know, I quit. I told you, I quit watching the news. I quit. So probably the biggest answer I can give you is I've come to the realization that I am an idiot if I allow things to control me that I have no control over. And that is something I'm extremely mindful of, and I feel like an asshole. Like, I'm watching the news, there's some shit going on, it got nothing to do with me, and my heart's racing, or I'm feeling, you know, anxious, or I'm allowing it to bother me. Like, you're an idiot. So being mindful of the fact that anything I have no control over bothering me, first of all, is something I'm super mindful of, and I'm just not going to let it happen. And that's never been, like, you know, I think a lot of us, I mean, anybody listening to this, it's like, you know, they just, and what happened was I had already been kind of there, right? I was like halfway there, and I'm hacking around on my computer one night, and it's, you know, it's late. It's, you know, it's 10:30 or whatever, 11 o'clock at night. I'm winding down. I'm just dicking around doing my thing. And somehow I double click on something that's news related. And I could, and anybody that, you know, listening to this can understand it. So I felt this heat, right? This like anxiety and so on, just from reading something that I don't even remember what the hell it was, but it certainly had nothing to do with me at 11 o'clock at night on my computer, anything I could do anything with. And I shut the fucking thing, and I'm like,
what am I doing?
What am I doing, man? Like,
right.
But I was, it's kind of like, here's what I think's happening with people. And I just had this conversation with my partner the other day, is, how would you describe it? Like, we're so used to it, we don't know what it's doing to us. So we're so in it, and we're so ingrained in it, it's just become normal, right? It's kind of like, I don't know, if you take a cold shower every day for a year, you know, you don't feel it cold anymore.
Right.
So because I had stepped away for quite a bit of time from taking in the news, taking the negativity and so on, I was hypersensitive to how it affected me. Before, I was already in it. So it just was, I was living in this shit place, let's say anxious place. And because I had stepped away and I then dabbled back in it for a second, it was really, I was super aware of what it did to me, you know, physically and mentally.
I feel it sometimes too. I feel, you know, you know, you look and the worst for me now is Twitter, right? Like, I'll jump in on Twitter and I know it's a fucking dark, deep shithole of news negativity. And every now and then I'll dive in there because I want to see what people's opinions are about stuff outside of the mainstream media, if you will. But I'm in there and I'm like, man, just like it's almost like going into a haunted house or something where I'm like, just get in and get out, right? Like, because you do start to affect it. You know, you do start to feel it affect you. And I remember years ago when I first, you know, married your Vienna, we were sitting at home one night, and I used to love watching the news. And she's from Russia, and I've told you that. And I was like, you know, I'd like for us to sit down and watch the news together, you know? And she's like, I have fucking zero interest in that. Not because she doesn't know what's going on. And I really like that. That was a hard one for me. I was like, well, how are we supposed to have topics to discuss? You know, like, it fucked me up, right? Like, but now that years have passed, I'm like, you know, now I know why she said that. And I know why she stays away from it, because it's constant negativity. Like, there's nothing about it that's uplifting or that makes you feel good. Everything kind of drags you into this one side or the other argument and gets you pissed.
To do with you.
And you can't do anything about it, you know?
Yeah, to answer your question, so I've narrowed my circle of thinking. I am so awareness, I think, is really important no matter what you're dealing with. So I'm really aware of the peace that I've created in my life, and I don't know that I am in the best business situation I've ever been in. I'm in the best headspace I've ever been in. So for sure, there's no question about it. And so I'm extremely aware of it. I'm hyper protective over it. If someone is in my space that is creating anything, it's like, you know, get the fuck out. And when you have so much of that, you know, you don't notice it. You know,
Right.
when it's just you're taking on the news, you've got all these shit situations in your life. You know, your business situation is shitty, so it just becomes the norm, right? Like anything, right? And now I'm really, really hypersensitive of it. I don't play no games with it either.
Yeah.
You know, I really don't. Like I live by myself. I'm primarily by myself. If I choose to spend time with somebody, it's super selective. It's definitely become like this awareness of boundaries in my life with everything. Like, no, don't fuck with my peace, right? You know, like
you've created your own little Garden of Eden to some degree.
And I'm
it's sort of
physically in better shape than I've ever been. I'm mentally in better shape than I've ever been. I eat better than I've ever been, and so I've really now established these boundaries, and it's not just people boundaries. I think of people say like, it's that, like, I'm cool with just saying we're not cool. You know, like, you know, we're not cool. Like, you know, if I'm dating somebody, I'm like, you know, I told you, like, this isn't for me. But it's bigger than that. It's what I expose myself to. You know, it's what, you know, if I'm at a restaurant and the waiter got a negative fucking attitude, it's like, you know, I just call them out or I'll leave. I just get up. I walk out of shit all the time. But on the flip side, I'm the other. Like, I went to dinner the other night by myself, and this waitress was, you know, I'm looking at her. She's probably in her early 20s, right? And all these kids, you know, not all these kids, but this society's so many people don't want to work, and she's busting her ass with a big ass smile, and she had her face painted for Halloween and stuff, and I mean, she just was on it, right? So not only did I leave her a really nice cash tip, I wrote a long note, you know, to her, and so I'm just loving living in that place, you know, and I didn't, you know, I didn't look back. You're the first person I've even told that to, and just that's where my headspace is, you know. So once you step back and you can kind of get a better look from the outside looking in, so that's me now, you know. I don't, and also age has something to do with it. You start to look at the clock ticking the other way. I'm definitely on the second half of my life. So, you know, just don't fuck with my shit, you know, in any way, shape, or form. You know, I have no patience for it. I don't, and I like that. You know, I definitely have like this lack of patience for invading anything, and that also opens up the doors for better things in your life. So it opens up the doors because you're not cluttered up with all this bullshit, like with something, you know, good, whether it's a relationship or it's a business situation or it's, you know, my friends, like right here now, I'm doing this with you, having cocktails at whatever the hell it is. I don't even know what day it is. This wouldn't have happened for me. You know, it would have been, I can't, you know, of me a long time. I can't, I get too much shit going on, because I just was, my whole world was different.
Right.
I'm gonna go hang out with Chris. I love that office, you know, we'd have a drink, and, you know, and I'm not worried about where I got to be half hour from, the only thing I canceled my freaking workout today, and now I'm going to be half hungover, but I'll grind it out tomorrow.
I know.
But to answer your question, like, me now is, I am very aware of my surroundings. I'm aware of my peace of mind, and I'm hyper protective over it. Like, it took a long time to recognize that. And I just think it comes with age. You know, it comes with, you know, being, you know, experiencing things and checking those boxes, knowing, okay, I went down that road. It's a dead end road, whatever. And now it's like, you know, it's no, and it a lot of it's just on me. It's not like I'm verbally saying it, right, to a situation. Like, if I went into a coffee shop the other morning. I live over in Las Olas. I walk into a coffee shop. It's 9. There's 10 of them, right? They're all pretty cool, right? They're all, they're, you know, they've got, you know, different vibes and couches. It's a very cool place, you know. So I live a block over from Las Olas. So I walk over there, and I walk in this coffee shop, and I just didn't like the fucking vibe. The girl behind the counter, she was just like, there was a guy in front of me waiting, and she just didn't. I'm like, I want to have coffee. I want to feel it. I want to, you know, this is the morning. This is a thing for me. I walked out. I went down the street. I found another spot.
Felt good.
Felt better. I went in. So I didn't say to her, like, this place sucks, or, you know, I don't like the vibe here, but I was just super protective, boundary-wise, of like, I'm not going to sit here, and it wasn't about the $8.
No, it's about the feel.
It was about the hour.
And what kind of quality experience you're going to have.
It was the hour of my life that I'll never get back, and it was the fact that it was Saturday morning, and I wanted to have a cup of coffee around a situation that, you know, felt good, and so I just turned around and walked out. I wouldn't have done that. I'd either bitched about it or stayed and not even been aware of it, because I was living in that world, and I just turned around, and I was kind of like, I was kind of like proud of myself, right? Like, no, we ain't doing that. We ain't having our coffee there. We're gonna have one cup of coffee this morning. We're gonna choose where we're gonna do it.
Hang on a second. So this is so funny to me. When you have your internal dialogue, is it often a we dialogue? Because mine is sometimes I'm like, we're not doing that.
Absolutely.
It's just me talking.
It was just me. No one knew I left the line. No one thought I just lost a customer, right? I'm like, I'm looking around. It ain't feeling right. I don't want someone making my coffee with a freaking negative attitude. And I just turned around and I walked. And I looked. And obviously, the next place I went, I was super aware, right? Of like, okay.
Right. How does it feel?
Yeah, this feels pretty good. Yeah. And I went there. And
we're good here.
Yeah, it was fine. So, yeah, it was definitely a we conversation.
So funny. I do that too. Sometimes I ask myself, is it weird that when I'm talking to myself, I'm having like a dialogue, I'll say, yeah, we're not doing that. And it's just me. So why is it a we?
Well, you are. There's you and you. I mean, my life is me against me. You know what I mean? There's no question about it. So, like, what do you want to do? Hey, fuck this place. All right, let's go. It's like, who else you going to ask?
Yeah, it's internal debate with yourself.
So I am. The cleaner it gets, the better you're aware of it, I guess.
Right.
And I'm super mindful of it, and I'm. People that are super close to me, I mean, they say, I'm living my best life. I really am,
Seems like it.
Yeah, for sure. You've known me for a long time,
it seems like it.
I absolutely am. And so I'm very selective of the people I spend time with. I guess it's the time. When it's a bitch to get older because you start to count time. Like when you're younger, you just, time is endless and you don't think. Right. And now it's like, I don't want to spend an hour doing something I don't want to do. And that's a bitch because it sometimes is cold, like it's, how would you describe it? Like, if I go on a date and it's like, I'm in a half hour, it's not rude, but it's honest. And like, let's wrap this up. Or let's say I go to a show, a movie, you'll sit there and you'll suck it up for 2 hours watching this shit movie.
Right. No,
I get up and I leave, for the most part. Like I don't want to do this. The other night I went to a movie with my daughter, and we went and saw that Sopranos prequel. By far the worst movie I ever saw.
Oh, I've heard that. I've heard that. Such a disappointing.
So I was going to leave, but I leaned into, we had those cool chairs, we were at that theater. I leaned into the fact that I was there with my daughter and we're having popcorn and so that was my reason
that was
for
your
being
excuse
there.
For staying.
But any other situation would have been, I'm out. And we all know we've spent endless hours doing shit we didn't want to do. Could have been a movie, could have been a date, could have been dinner, could have been a friend, could have been whatever.
Anything.
And now I'm like really dialed in, like, okay, this is 45 minutes of shit I don't want to do, so I'm not going to do it. And it's at first seems a little brash, but it's my time.
No, I've grown to have a better understanding of that too. It's not like I sit and think, oh my God, time's running out. It's just that no, time is so valuable, and it does go quickly. That you want, either you're putting in the time to work and make the effort for a reason, or you want to be enjoying it and getting the most out of it. And I don't have any patience for doing shit. You shouldn't.
I mean, you're younger than me. If you're in a meeting and it's not going nowhere, then just fucking leave.
Yeah.
Just, you know what, this is going, but we've all sat there and thinking, oh my God, just another, when's this going to, I don't give a shit no more,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this no more, guys. I'm leaving. And truthfully, like, you just feel better. It's like, but of course it's that we conversation. What do you want to do? Should we leave? Fuck it. They're going to be upset. Fuck, let's go.
But it used to be like, well, you should just hang in there, just give it a shot. Like those are the types of internal mind.
Get in the car, put the music on, Yeah. Go spend time doing something else you want to do. But yeah, so it's a circle back around to answer that question, honestly. Like, I am so aware of my time, and I've become like a time, what do they call it, like a time snob. Right? Like, I'm not gonna, like, people that are like, let's say they call themselves a coffee snob, like they're not, like, if it's bad, I'm not gonna drink it. So if it's not serving myself or even the other person, I'm okay with that. Like, if I'm spending time with you but I'm helping you, but it's a grind for me, that's cool, because I'm still getting satisfaction out of it. But I'm not gonna waste any time, and I'm aware of it now. And I think that if anything else, if somebody listens to this podcast, even so, like, wow, you know what, I never put it that way, and I spend so much time doing shit I don't want to do. or I don't like doing, and I just, you know, like I get talked into doing. We all get talked, you know, used to get talked into shit. And I don't, like now if I go to a party, and people are parking in the driveway, if there's like 4 spots in front of me, I park at the end of the driveway.
Yeah.
And I just went to somewhere with my kids, a friend's party, and they're like, Dad, you want to ride with me? Nope. Drive my own car, park at the end of the driveway.
Just, if I got to pull the ripcord, I want a free.
I'm going to dip, you know, and that's, you know, it's a liberating, obviously, way to live. And it's not rude, and it's, you know, you're not being.
No, but don't you, I mean, like at this stage, because my dad was kind of this way, you know, and I've learned to develop to be this way too, you know. It feels good to just say, you know what, this sucks. I don't like it. I don't want to be here anymore. Or if somebody tells you, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm out. You know, I'd rather have that than spend another 45 minutes with a person who's going through the fucking motions and like, oh yeah, you know, fuck that. I don't want you to not be having a good time or feel like you're wasting your time, and I don't want to feel like I'm fucking wasting my time. And if I feel like it's done, I want to leave now.
It's very liberating, and you'll sleep better, and you'll obviously you'll have a more quality, you know, higher quality of life. I had tickets to a comedy show month ago. Sebastian Monson was playing at the Hard Rock.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So they gave me a pair of tickets, and so I'm like, I'm gonna ask somebody to go with me. I'm like, fuck, that's such a commitment, right? Because if I ask them to go, then I gotta go, and then I gotta go first of all,
right?
And then I gotta sit through the show. And what if I don't want to sit through the show? What if I see 2 fucking jokes? I want to leave. So anyway, I kept postponing it, right? And you know, like, and then I thought, all right, well, I'll just go to the Hard Rock because I hang out there. It's, you know, it's kind of like my spot. I like it there. I love the vibe and the energy and so on. And I bob around there from bar to degenerates and then play black, whatever. So it's just I like going there. I'll just go there, and then maybe I'll bump into somebody I know and I'll take them to the show. So I still got 2 tickets in my pocket all the way up to the night of the show, right? So now I'm like, I'm gonna go by myself. So I go by myself, right? So I basically go in. I have 2 tickets in my pocket. I show one. I bump into 3 friends. One's a couple, and then a girl I know who I've known for a long time, a good friend. She's with the couple. She's like the third wheel. So, and I had really good seats, and they were going up to these shit seats. So I said, hey, why don't you come? I said, why don't you come with me? You can sit with me. Oh, that'd be awesome. So I said, can I get an extra seat? What do you mean? Why you get an extra seat? It's a long story why I get an extra seat. But anyway. So we go sit down, and I said, listen, I know that, I said, this is your seat. I may leave in 3 minutes. So the reason I had this extra seat was because I didn't want to be obligated to go like, are you having a good time? Like, which is, I don't really want to get completely there, right? but I am right now. And she looks at me like, what do you mean? I go, well, the reason this seat was going to be vacant was because I could leave anytime I wanted. So now I'm feeling a little anxiety because I asked you to come and sit with me. So you can stay if I leave, or you can go with your friends, or you can do whatever, but I may dip. That she was a sweetheart. She's like, yeah, whatever, whenever you leave, I'll leave. Dude, It's
so, have you ever watched?
So we stayed for the whole show,
right? But have you ever watched Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean it's so Larry David, and as I'm sitting here, I might, do you not respect wood?
Me too.
It's so.
My son says that he sees him. He's like, "That's you, Dad." It's
so funny though. It's like, nah, I don't want to go. Or I want to. I'm gonna leave in like 5 minutes. You can stay.
So to wrap it up, because it's really funny. So my friend she's like my age, and we've been friends we have mutual friends, so we've been friends for a while. So I said, all right, listen, if we don't leave, we are going to leave before everybody else, because there's like 5,000 people in here, and I don't do crowds, so we're gonna dip. Like last joke, we're out, right? So the show was amazing. He was awesome. We had some cocktails, so I forget about this whole conversation, right? Like, now I'm just my night, I'm done. So we go to leave, right? Now there's the aisle, right? And we're like maybe 8 seats in, right? So, and she's like super happy that like we had this chill hour and a half together, and we had a couple of cocktails, and she sat in these good seats. So I kind of forget about all this, and because the point of my whole story was to her was like, I want the freedom I want you to express the fact that, but it didn't mean I'm leaving. You know, it could be the opposite, right? That we, you know, I just wanted the
night could go on all night.
I want to be liberated, right? I could sit in this seat. So anyway, I forget all about it, right? So we go so the show's over, and she's to the right of me, right? So she's leaving, and there's this couple there, and it's like this scuffle and shit and so on, and then I get to the aisle and we get out. You know how you go to a venue and you get out and I go, what the fuck happened with those people? That couple, what'd they do? What do you mean what'd they do? I go, what'd they do? She goes, you said we leave. So she shoved them out of the damn way. She was like, okay, you got me the ticket. You been my boy all night. Like, you know, I got you. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I forgot about that. She's like, we're out. I go, look, we're in now. Like, you know, that ship sailed. Like, she pushed them over the damn seats, you know. And then so later that night, I ran into her and some friends at dinner, and I told the story, and they all laughed at her because she's pretty, you know, like quiet, you know, but she was like, you know, he got me the seats. We had a good time together. Like, I had his back. Get the fuck out of the way.
Just a fucking elbow.
Right elbow. I thought they said something. Something happened. I mean, you know, it was just a cute story. And I ran into him later, and everybody had a good laugh about it. Now we're talking about it again. So it was pretty endearing. But anyway, I ain't wasting no time. That's all. And I'm, you know, like, to finish the circle, right? I come here today to be here for an hour. I call you and say, Chris, I don't have a lot of time. Like,
right.
You want to do the podcast?
Yeah.
I'll be there. Can I come early? Can we do the podcast? You know, and I got to be out. But I get here. I ain't seen you in a while. You got a little juice in you. You know, I ain't seen you juiced up in a while. So I told you asked me if I wanted a drink. I said, no, I want water. But now the vibe feels good. You know, everybody's having a cocktail. It's Wednesday. And so I had to work out at 6 o'clock. I canceled that. And here we are. It's 5:30. That's me now.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have been me. Very regimented, you know, like, but it felt good, so we stayed with it. Here we are, you know, fucking around, having laughs at 5:30. No workout. I'm gonna have another scotch here in a second. So to wrap things up, that's. I feel like I'll go home and I won't feel like, oh man, I fucked up my night, whatever. Like, I left. I came here. I had a great time with you. Check one good day. You know, one more good day, right? Salute. That's how we're drinking.
Thanks, man. Salute.
Let's get off the air here.
Yeah.
Are we on the air? What do you call this?
Yeah,
call this on the air.
I don't know what they call it anymore.
I love you, buddy.
Yeah,
good
love
to see you
too,
again.
man,
Always.
Thank you. Always a good time.
But you know, a quick question in it now. You know, like my dad told me one time years and years ago, go on vacation, don't bring a watch. And I've never forgot that. And how about living your life that way, right? The best you can, right? I mean, you know, like until you're completely checked out, you know, quite can't.
Right.
But like, I don't know what time it is right now. Right? And he said, you go on vacation, you eat when you want to eat, you drink when you want to drink, you sleep when you want to sleep. And I've never, because if not, it's not a fucking vacation.
Right.
We get dinner at 6. You know, we're going to work out at 8.
Getting ready.
He's like, don't have a watch and don't know what time it is. And when I go to Mexico, when I go to Tulum, that's how I treat it. You know, and I really have in most cases, like if me and you go on a trip together and we bring our girls, I'll be like, listen, dude, I don't make no plans. If it's 5 o'clock, we got dinner reservations. I'm 50-50. I might be napping. I might be drunk. I might be at the beach. And I think that the more you can live your life that way, you know, just how much more enjoyable it would be. I mean, it's, you know, and when I go on vacation, I don't bring a watch, and I try not to pay attention to time, and I try to go with whatever that trip is serving me, you know. And like, let's say we're out dicking around at the beach and we're having a good time and we're shit-facing. I don't want to go, we have dinner at 6.
That's the worst.
But you do it. People do it, man.
I've done it a million times when you're like, well, we got to get ready. Dinner, you know.
That's not vacation.
Right?
That's back to work.
Yep.
So think about that next time you go on vacation. Tell your wife, we're leaving a watches. Yeah.
Oh, trust me, she didn't wear a watch. My wife is on your Vienna time.
Right. And so how about we try to live our lives a little bit closer to that, especially now when nothing really makes sense anyway. So we'll have to put a watch on again someday, but right now, no watch.
All right, man. Cheers.
Cheers,
JJ.
buddy.
Thanks, bro.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you coming and spending time. It's been good.
I always enjoy it.
All
Do
right,
it again.
Me too, man.
When does this end? Are we in now? Are we done?
Yeah.
All right. We're done. Shut it down.